Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
And with that sweet, sweet spirit that's been evoked with that beautiful song, let's close our eyes together. Together, let's take a deep breath in and release. Just allowing ourselves to become fully present and fully in this moment. Leaving all the hurry and the busyness and the chill of the outside, all just falling away. We're present and we're connected. We're connected with that presence that we just sang about, and we're connected with ourselves, and we're connected with one another. Together, let's take another deep breath in and gently release. Following your breath, moving that attention inward, deeper and deeper, to the secret place of the Most High. Deep within you. You've been here before. It's where you began. It's that place within where you know you are peace, you are love, and you are joy. Allow yourself to feel the depth of connection. Allow yourself to expand from that very center, out connecting with everyone in the room, everyone in the building, and out into the world. Let's take that sense of connection, the beauty of the moment, into a moment of silence. Gently bringing our attention back to this moment and this time. We bring back with us to this moment that sweet connection of silence and stillness within each and every one of us. The truth of the Christ nature born during this holiday season and every single day as we choose to follow truth. For this connection and so much more, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen. Happy New Year's Eve. Happy New Year's Eve. I wasn't slurring, right? We're having our New Year's Eve event today at our noontime service, or our almost noon, 11 o'clock. So if you think about it, by the time you leave here, you'll have exactly 12 hours left in 2017 to finish whatever it is that you didn't do from your resolution list from last year. Uh-oh. If that's a phone call to grandma, you're good, right? You still have time to get that in. If you wanted to lose some pounds, like I had said I wanted to do this year, well, you're gonna have to roll that one over. Rollover resolutions, that's what we'll call it. Do some rollover resolutions and do a reset and start again, right? That's okay. We're human beings. We fail all the time, and it's beautiful. It's just part of who we are, right? It's okay. We set our intentions, and sometimes we really commit, and sometimes we kind of commit, and sometimes we just like forget about it, right? Anybody have any leftover resolutions that they need to roll back in for the new year? Well, we're going to talk today a little bit about ways that we can do that and how we can get really clear and how we can really make a difference. But first, let's talk about New Year's. Did you know, let's see, am I doing that right? Yeah. Did you know that New Year's resolutions go all the way back to ancient Mesopotamia? Yeah, they were an oath to the king that individuals would make during this big festival. And then that when they were making this oath, it was their personal oath, right, to the king. This is what I commit to do for you and the kingdom. But then when it went into the time of the Greeks, the ancient Romans, it was actually loyalty to the emperor. So it sort of evolved to a bigger, more heavy-duty thing. But did you also know, this is trivia, right? But I think it's interesting to find these things out, that the New Year's Eve kiss that everybody gets so nervous and excited about was actually a blessing. So with that, you have my permission to kiss as many people and bless as many people as you want on New Year's Eve. How about that? If they're, yes, of course, you know, that's all in agreement, right? There has to be mutual consent. That's a very hot topic these days. Mutual consent is really important. But this week I was trying to think of how am I going to talk to you about our new year. And I came up with this 4F formula. And I kept going, is it Formula 4F, like Formula 1 racing? Get your engines revving and going, or is it the 4F formula? I don't know. But here's what we're going to say. Today, it's the 4F formula. If I ever do a workshop, I'll probably refine it a little bit. But the 4 Fs are fantasy, focus, fantasy, frustration, focus, and fulfillment. So let's think about this. This is, people all the time use different words. Like sometimes we'll say, I have a vision, I have a dream. I like fantasy because when I was a kid, I lived in fantasy land. I lived through paper dolls. Remember paper dolls? If any of you older ones, I don't know if anybody's had paper dolls in forever, but you could, if your mom wouldn't buy you the book, you could just go get the Sears catalog and cut it out with little tabs over and make your own with little inserts from the pantyhose container. This is what I really did. Or Barbie dolls. I had the whole, Ken and Barbie and all those, and the cars and all that. And I lived through this fantasy. And dressing up, oh my gosh, dress-up box was amazing. Now, these weren't costumes that somebody went and bought, right? This was stuff that Miss Bonnie across the street gave us her little size 5.5 high-heel shoes. And we always imagine that we really fit in them, And we get a pillowcase and put it on our head like a wedding veil. And we walk down, we had this little sidewalk in front of our house. And it went up to a little porch, And so that was our altar. So we would walk down and we'd go up on the altar and we get married. Somebody got married probably every single day. And if we weren't getting married, we were shooting them up with cowboys and Indians like John Wayne and the Westerns. So it was just rich, rich fantasy life. But there's some point where fantasy becomes somehow a bad thing. We're told, grow up. No, you cannot take your imaginary friend George to first grade. He has to stay home. And don't tell anybody about him, right? Don't share your fantasies with someone. Don't share with people that you have an imagination. Well, fantasy, that's what imagination is. Imagination and fantasy are one and the same. And imagination is one of our 12 spiritual powers that we study and we evoke within ourselves here at Unity. So fantasy is a good word. It doesn't mean it's unattainable. It means it's beyond your circumstances, right? If you look around every day, well, this is what my world looks like today. But if I use my imagination, then I can have a fantasy and I can create anything. Mary Morrissey says you can't get to your dreams, you must come from it. Do you get that? I have a mug I drink out of every day to remind me of that. You can't get to your dream, right? Because if you are trying to get to a dream, it is outside of you. It is away from you. It's separate from you. You must come from the dream. If you come from that dream, from that fantasy that you've allowed your mind to just go on, and what if? What if? Yes, and. I love improvisation. Anybody love improvisation? There's a game called Yes, and, right? Yes, and, yes, and, yes, and. No matter what somebody says in the game, you add to it. Yes, and, yes, and. What a great way to live, right? If I came up and I told you my fantasies, my dreams, my desires, what I want you to say, no matter how kooky it is yes, and. Carla did this for me recently. I just was so floored by her presence. She didn't say, oh, well, don't do that. What? She just said, yeah. I said, I really don't know how I'm going to do it. And she told me this little story about a boy who his dad said, go out to the shed and get something. And I wasn't planning to tell this, but I'm going to tell it if you don't mind. But go out to the shed and get something. And the little boy says, well, it's dark outside. I don't want to go outside and get that. I'm afraid. And he said, well, take the lamp. And the little boy holds the lamp up, and he said, but the lamp only shows me to right there. And I want to go all the way to the shed. I'm still afraid. And the dad says, just go to the end of the light. And then you'll see the next steps to take. And I love that because it was affirming where I was. I didn't have the whole big picture of how to do it, but I had the desire, right? And so that's what we have to deal with ourselves all the time is if I have a fantasy, a dream is, I like fantasy because it's beyond a dream, right? Because we think a dream should be bigger than your reality, but a fantasy, no holds barred, right? I could fly, I could float. In my fantasy, I can create anything. I don't have to have resources in my hands because the universe is my resource, right? So I can get in there and I can just give it an opportunity and see what happens. So let's do a little bit of fantasy work for just a moment, if you don't mind. So if everybody will get your bulletin out and just open it to this page. Don't do anything right now, but inside your bulletin, there's a yellow page that says Note to Self. If everybody should have gotten when they came in, a bulletin, an envelope that has a couple of pieces of paper in it, and one of these little packages, and I'll explain to you in a minute why. But right now, just get your bulletin out and have it ready, but don't get distracted with it, okay? So what I want you to do is we're just going to go back. We're going to drop back into that quiet place where we were just a moment ago. And we're going to connect in with Source. When we dropped into that secret place of the Most High, that is where we are the most fertile, right? There are no limitations. There's no distractions. There's no this world. That is where we connect back in to the way we came into this world. We came into this world knowing who we are. We came into this world with all possibilities available to us. It's through living our life that we kind of learn that, oh, well, you're not tall enough for this, or short enough for that, or strong enough for this, or bright enough for that. And then we started shrinking down. Let's stop doing that, people. Let's stop letting conditions or circumstances, or the words of our friends and family and relatives and people who love us. But a lot of times, you know what I learned is a lot of times when people start telling you, well, here's the concern about this, and here's the concern about that, they're coming from their own fear, right? They're coming from their own experience. They're really not present with what you're saying. And I have to train myself sometimes when I share something with someone and they go into, I don't know if that's really a good idea for you. I think they're saying, I don't know if I could do that, right? Because that's what we are. We're human beings, right? And so we're always projecting ourselves on other people. So I invite you to adopt that way of translating, right? So if you have a great idea and you have an excitement within you, if you have that burning desire, that is coming to you, through you, from Source. And it's telling you, yeah, you can do it. You may not know the steps beyond right here, but just do what you can. Just take a step, right? Do something. Make a move. So let's just take a moment and just go back into that quiet space. So put your both feet on the floor, put your hands out open in a open and receptive position, and let's take a deep breath. And just release that. And I'm going to share with you some words of Marianne Williamson. But what I want you to do is first, just think of what it is. Close your eyes. Let's all close our eyes together. So just give yourself a moment. And I'm going to ask you, what is your fantasy? If you could be anywhere with anybody doing anything right now, having any experience that you want to have, where would you be? Who would you be with? What would it feel like in your heart? What would you reach out and touch? What would be around you? Who would be around you? What's that experience you're having right now that gives you that great level of fulfillment? No holds barred, no limitations. You're making it all up from scratch right now. What is it? Allow your soul to answer when I say, what is it? What is it? Allow yourself just to move into that moment. And then I'm going to share with you these words from Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is not our light. It is our light and not our darkness that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others around you won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Hearing that and giving yourself a moment to really feel your potential, your possibilities, unlimited, untethered. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? What do you taste? What do you smell? What do you feel? Really just allow yourself to be in that moment of fantasy. It's the feeling that makes it real. Gently open your eyes. Did you allow yourself to see something? Did you allow yourself to feel something? Did you allow yourself to go there? Because sometimes we won't, right? We're like, oh, I'm sitting in public. I don't want anybody to get, any look at my face, and I might be all excited. But I hope you did. I hope you gave yourself a moment to that exercise. Now, let's just think for a moment. Take your little yellow pages in here in the bulletin. So if you were going to have that fantasy, there's something in your life right now that you probably need to stop doing. If you're going to really ultimately have what you want in life, what are you doing right now that if you stop doing it, it's going to free you. It's going to allow you to move closer to that outcome. Just jot down one to three things. Don't make a long list. If you have a long list, just save it. Just 1 to 3 things, because we don't want it to be overwhelming. Just jot down in this space, in your bulletin, 1 to 3 things that you can stop doing in 2018. It says, in 2018, I will stop. I will stop, what? Criticizing my spouse, because I want a loving connection. I'll stop complaining about my children, because I really want them to feel how wonderful they are. I really do see them with all this pure potential, but I complain about them maybe a little bit too much. Is it something simple like a candy bar every day at 3 o'clock that you could stop eating and you probably feel better, right? Whatever it is, what would you stop? And then along with that, the next one is, in 2018, I will start. So what would you start doing? If you were living in this fantasy, what would you be doing that you're not doing now? What could you start doing that would take you more in the direction of your fantasy? Just 1 to 3 things. We're not trying to make it overwhelming. And then later you can come back to this and actually put some time scales on it if you want to. Because that's the power, is making them time-bound and specific. But just some things that you want to stop doing, start doing, and let's just not forget to pat ourselves on the back a little bit. There are some things that you are doing right now that really do enhance your life. It really does connect you with others. You may be of service. You may be investing. You may be doing whatever it is that you're doing right now that you feel like, yeah, that's really taking me in the direction of my dreams. Just jot those things down. And this is no limit to this list, right? So you can write as many things. I'm really happy. I'm really grateful that I'm choosing to do these things for myself. I'm running every day. I'm walking my dogs. That's for me and the dogs. Whatever it is, what are the things that you're going to continue doing in the next year? Just make a note. So this fantasy is our pure potential. But sometimes people say, well, you know what, I don't have an imagination. I'm not creative. I don't have a fantasy. I'm not like that. My brain doesn't work that way. All these excuses of why they can't imagine the next thing, right? There's a lot of people that feel that way. But I say, let your frustration be your guide, right? So what is it that's bothering you? What is it that just makes you go, ugh? Underneath that urge to be frustrated and to be against something is actually an urge for something, right? So let that frustration tell you what it is that you really want. If you're angry, you're frustrated, you're complaining a lot, you're focusing on the opposite of what you really want, the opposite of what would be fulfilling to you, right? So just turn that over. Did everybody get one of these little packages when you came in? So I've been giving these out all year long, right? So this was a little inspired moment that I'm like, okay, I want to put these little packages together and just give them out. I ordered 10,000, so I had a big dream, right? That was some fantasy that came just bubbling up within me. I haven't put 10,000 packages together yet, but I have 10,000 little wristbands. The wristbands are great because it says, I am love, and it's a reminder. But it's a reminder of the information that's on the card inside. A lot of people I've seen will take the bracelet out and they'll just leave the packaging. Well, I'm here to tell you the power's in the card. The magic is in the card because it tells you how to connect in with the energy. Yes, I meditate with the bracelets, but the wristband is just the wristband, right? It's a reminder that that energy of gratitude is within you. And it's a little, hold positive thoughts and speak positive words, be of service, do random acts of kindness. That's the formula on here. But the purpose of this is just to help us get a little bit closer, because sometimes when we're saying, oh, have positive thoughts and speak positive words, it just seems impossible, doesn't it? Sometimes it's like, really, Pollyanna? Thank you very much. I don't need it. I'm fine with my life just the way I like to complain about it right now, right? But I needed a reminder, and I thought other people might need a reminder. And quite honestly, it was inspired by some of the, not so long ago, political things that are going on, that people who really have purpose and have a focus in their life swung over to being angry and complaining and judging. And we all do that. We all do that to some degree. But when you feel this frustration, if you stay there, you're lowering your vibration, right? You're lowering your own energy level. So take that moment of frustration and say, okay, I'm feeling this, but what is it telling me? What's the message in my frustration? How can that take me to a fantasy? If it's not this, it must be something else, right? So let that frustration just be a guide to you. Don't get all wound up and bound up in it. Energy is everything, and everything is energy. So we're always connected with that energetic force in the universe. We are energy. We're putting out a vibration all the time. So if you're coming to Monday night meditation, which I happen to facilitate, then we begin with gratitude, right? We begin, even before we start, we do a 5-step process. We begin with gratitude, and we go into meditation in the silence. But together, collectively, we're raising our vibration. And it matters. It matters to the people in the room. It matters to people in their lives. It matters to people they come in contact with when they leave that room. It makes a difference. And if you don't have a meditation practice, I encourage you to explore it. I know it takes time. And, I think it's Deepak Chopra that tells the little joke that, when a man says, I don't have enough time to meditate, he tells him you need to meditate. And he says, well, I don't have enough time to meditate. Well, then you need to meditate twice as long, right? Because you need to make time. If you think you don't have time to meditate, then you really need to amp up your commitment to meditating, because it centers you and it helps you make a choice. Because sometimes it might sound ridiculous to say, I'm frustrated right now. One of my friends told me when I started this project, I just need to be in my stuff sometimes. I said, okay. And I understand that. Sometimes we do. I like to vent every once in a while. But if you stay there, you're lowering your vibration. When you lower, you've heard of the law of attraction. That is a sub-law of the law of vibration. If you're vibrating down here, Who are you matching up with? Right? If you choose your words carefully and your thoughts, and even if those thoughts come in, it's like the reptilian brain is always going to warn you, right? Warning, warning, this could be a danger, that could be a danger. So those thoughts are going to come in our mind. Just recently, I planned a trip during the holidays, and I had 2,000 miles to drive. And before I left, I was like, you haven't done that since you were in college. These little voices kept coming up, and I'm like, yes, that's true, and I'm doing it. This is a conversation in my head, literally. And so when I made the first part of the trek, I drove a whole day in the rain from Little Rock, Arkansas to North Carolina. The next morning, I got up, and I was on a mission, got up, took care of my mission, and I was driving home, and in those last 5 hours, my eyes started getting scratchy, because it's like 11 hours that way and 11 back. So it's getting dark outside. And I noticed myself thinking, I'm tired. And I chose, you know what I did? I chose in that moment. I'm really proud of myself. Because I could have said, well, when I get to Nashville, I'll just pull over and get a hotel room. But you know what I decided to do? I decided to focus on the energy of the fulfillment of my mission. And that raised my vibration, and I wasn't tired anymore. My eyes were still a little scratchy because I'm in a car, right? The air is dry. But it totally shifted my energy to focus on what I had accomplished and how good that made me feel, and it raised my energy. I didn't have to grab a caffeine because I can't do that in the evening, right? So frustration can be a message. Sometimes tired is a message. Sometimes it's a message that we are not in harmony with our desires. Our thoughts and our words are not matching up with who we really are in this world. So when we have identified our fantasy, or we've used our frustrations to understand what it is that our possible fantasy could be, and we're moving in that direction, we really need to put some focus on it. And that means when you have that negative feeling or moment, you acknowledge it. Don't push it away. Don't press it down, because you just give that more energy. Just accept it. Just say, oh, thank you, I noticed. And put your focus on the good. Put your focus on what you want in this world. If you catch yourself complaining, and we all do, stop and ask yourself, I'm complaining about this because I would really love that. And put your attention on that, right? If you think complaining as a part of your lifestyle is helping you, it might make you bond with other complainers. You got that water cooler experience, right? Somebody walks over, oh, the copier's down, and or people love to complain this time of year about travel and the airlines and the airports. Well, you could jump in and you can complain, or you could say, that's really interesting. What I'd really find more interesting is, where did you go and what'd you do and who'd you see? Just redirect it. Right? You can do that. You have that power. You can invite that change. You have to first be the change, right? That's a Gandhi phrase. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be that change. Make those choices for yourself, but you can also invite others along on that trip with you. So, fantasy, frustration as a way to get to your fantasy. Focus. Stay on that positive path. That's what these bracelets are about. Whether you wear one or not, if you don't want a piece of rubber wristband on your arm, I understand. I like it because I am love, if you study Dr. Emoto's messages in water. So your body is over 80% water, and you've got a label on yourself every day that says, I am love. I just think that's fantastic. But if you don't want to wear it, that's fine. Keep the card with you. Put it in your wallet or something. Remind yourself, I can choose. I can choose what I put my attention on. And what you put your attention on will expand. And it'll expand so fast. Sometimes people get really frustrated when I do talks about this type of thing, because I'm really clear. that every thought and every word is prayer. And if you don't believe that, you're in resistance to truth. Because every thought, the Bible says pray unceasingly. That doesn't mean go sit on a mountaintop and do nothing else. It means every thought and every word is a prayer. You're already praying unceasingly. But if you are saying, I want more fortune in my life, I want a better job, I want a spouse, I want a happy child, I want whatever, and on the other side, you're then complaining, and I don't have it because, you're splitting your energy. You're taking focus away from that fantasy, that dream, that heart's desire that was placed there by God, and you're giving the energy to what you don't have, what you don't even want. So stop doing it. Okay? Got it? Okay? Good. Don't do that anymore. It's not easy, but over time, you can make changes. It's a little incremental shift. And every time that you choose the positive, pat yourself on the back, right? Give yourself, yay, kudos. I shifted, just like I said, driving back, I felt tired, and I chose.
Over the past 18 years, our research center has investigated heart-brain interactions, how the heart and the brain communicate with each other, and how that affects consciousness and our perceptions. One of the things we identified in our research was the state we now call coherence. And what we found was that when we're feeling positive emotions, like we're really appreciating the sunset, or really feeling love or compassion or care for someone, that the heart beats out a very different message. The heart generates by far the largest rhythmic electromagnetic field produced in the body. And what we've now found is that if we look at the spectrum analysis of the magnetic field radiated by the heart, that emotional information is actually encoded and modulating into those fields. So by learning to shift our emotions, that's changing the information we're encoding into the magnetic fields radiated by the heart, and that can impact those around us. We are fundamentally and deeply interconnected with each other and the planet itself, and what we do individually really does count and matters.
Did you hear that last statement? What we do individually really does count and matters. So there's a paper that they have put together, Science of the Heart, and one of the things that he says in this paper, it's a book, but it's an e-book you can get for free off of their website. But he says, failures of self-regulation are central to the vast majority of health and social problems that plague modern societies. The most important strength that the majority of people need to build is the capacity to self-regulate their emotions, attitudes, and behaviors. That's what we've been talking about today. And that was Roland McCready, who is the head researcher for the Heart Math Institute. So, you got it, right? Fantasy, frustration, focus, fulfillment. So we're going to move now into our burning bowl ceremony. And so if you got your envelope, there's a little small piece of paper in there. Be sure only to write these things on the small piece of paper because it's flash paper. And if our ushers will come and light our candles along the way, what we're going to invite you to do is to go into a meditation time. And through this, Eric is going to play his beautiful gong and flute and various indigenous instruments over there. And during this time, I want you to drop back into that place that we've been a couple of times today, right? And I'll guide you back there. But we're going to drop back into that connectedness deep within. And don't take out the big piece of paper just yet. Just take out the small piece of paper. There's a little small piece of paper. So the small piece of paper is for the burning bowl ceremony, right? Everybody got that? The small piece of paper. Do not bring that big piece of paper up here because I'll have to yank it out of your hand, right? That will set the room on fire. The little one is flash paper. So with those things that you have decided to stop, start, and continue, Burning bowl ceremony is a ritual to release into the universe and transform that which we are ready to let go of today. So, what are you ready? Is it a resentment that's been dragging you down? Are you holding hard feelings towards your sister or your former boss? Or do you just have something in your mind about a whole group of people? What is it that's holding you back from really connecting and being your true self? Write those things on this piece of paper and make a commitment. This is a commitment, right? When you're writing this on this piece of paper, I am releasing this today. I am not dragging this thing into 2018 to continue to hold myself back another year, right? I am leaving it right here, right now, on this stage, in this fire. So write down as many, you can put just one word. I know it's a small piece of paper, so you can't write a book. It's not about writing a book. It's just about telling your consciousness, I am done with this. I am no longer going to, it could come from your stop list. It could be something else that now, as we've talked a little bit longer, you feel like, oh, yeah, that is unresolved. I need to be a little bit more clear with myself about that. I need to let that go. So when Eric is playing, you will take your little piece of paper and come up and just put it right over the flame, drop it, and it's going to go up really fast. And then go back to your seat, because he'll continue to play. Go back to your seat and drop back into that quiet space and ask yourself, you're going to write a letter. That's what the big piece of paper is for. And the envelope is to address to yourself. So when you drop back into that space, you're going to ask yourself, in 6 months, I'm going to be so happy and so grateful. I'm going to be really connected. I'm going to feel really good because I've chosen to. And write a letter to yourself, right? And I'll be guiding you through this process. But write a letter to yourself. Dear Beverly, that's my name, by the way. I didn't even introduce myself after all this time. I just assume you all know me, and there are some people in the room who don't. So my name is Beverly Pryor. But write this letter. Dear Beverly, I am so happy for you, or I'm so grateful that, or I'm just so excited to know that this day in June or July or whatever, that I see you in this light. This is what you're doing with your life. This is how you're showing up. This is who you are. So this is the second part, right? This is the letter to yourself as you are unfolding, and how happy and grateful that you are that you're in this new place that you've shifted to in 2018. Okay, everybody got it? Any questions? Releasing on the small piece of paper, letter to yourself. Then you will seal the letter in the envelope, and you can leave it with the ushers as you leave. And in the middle of the year, it will be mailed to you. And then you can remember what it was that you were envisioning for yourself for 2018. And you'll be able to connect back into that energy. Okay? So Eric, you want to? He did it like a magician. You don't have to do with that finesse. You can just drop it and leave it. He practiced that, I'm sure. We have 5 different stations up here. This is your intention that you're expressing by this action. It is my deepest desire and my intention to release these things from my existence, from my life, so that I don't carry this into the new year, so that I leave it behind. probably have at least one thing we want to leave behind. We might have more. The flash paper will completely, please don't just throw your paper on top of the flame because it puts the flame out. Just light it and then let it go. It'll flash up. There won't be any words left for anyone else to read behind you. Just come to the middle, to the other stations here. You can come. You're letting this go, so this is a sacred moment. You are committing in your heart of hearts. I am releasing these things that no longer serve me. I don't want to have that attitude anymore. I choose not to see this situation in this same way. I am releasing. It doesn't match with my new vibration that I'm choosing for 2018. This old thing is no longer of service. We're moving into 2018 with a clean slate and leaving this thing behind. When you go back to your seat, you're writing the letter to yourself. Blessed One, I'm so excited to look at you now and see how your choices have allowed you to blossom into this beautiful being. You've left those things back in 2017. You've chosen to move forward in the direction of your fantasies and your dreams. You're expanding. You're more present. I'm so proud of you. If your letter's not coming to you, just take a deep breath. Just close your eyes and drop down. And just allow that to move through you. What is the message from your soul to yourself? You are loved. You are love in this world. You bring peace to every situation. You're prosperous. You're healthy. You're vibrant. This is a creative process. In Genesis, it says, God gave man dominion over the earth. This is true because of this connection we have, because we are one, because we can never be separated except in our own mind. So now, has everyone had a chance to come forward with their small flash paper? The letter, you could just leave it on the desk on the way out, or give it to one of the ushers. And with this process, I wish you the happiest of New Year's. Namaste.
Acquaintance be forgot, and ne'er be brought to mind. Should old acquaintance be forgot, and days of old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. To take a cup of sin for old lang syne.
Happy New Year, everybody!